Yo, what up, what up? Welcome back. I'm your host, B. Ryder, my co-host,
J. Bell.
and this is
Final Thoughts.
Today's topic, Joe Rogan versus CNN. Let's check it out.
I'm glad you're better. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
it only lasted a day.
You're probably the only one at CNN that's glad.
No. We're not.
The rest of them are all lying about me taking horse medication. And we should talk about that.
That bothered you.
It should bother you too. They're lying at your network about people taking human drugs versus drugs for veterinary.
Calling it a horse dewormer is not a flattering thing. I get
It's
that.
a lie. It's a lie on a news network, and it's a lie that's a willing. That's a lie that they're conscious of. This is not a mistake.
Yeah.
They're unfavorably framing it as veterinary medicine.
Well, the FDA put this thing out. You saw that. Did you see that thing that the FDA put out?
What did the FDA put out?
It was a tweet, and it was snarky. I admit it. They said, "You are not a horse. You are not a cow. Stop taking this stuff," or something like that.
Why would you say that when you're talking about a drug that's been given out to billions and billions of people? A drug that was responsible for one of the inventors of it making winning the Nobel Prize in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
a drug that has been shown to stop viral replication in vitro. You know that, right? Why would they lie and say that's horse dewormer? I can afford people medicine, motherfucker. This is ridiculous. It's just a lie.
I don't think anyone is.
But don't you think that a lie like that is dangerous on a news network when you know that they know they're lying? You know that they know that I took medicine. Like, here it is. This is Ivermectin.
You got
This
it
is
with
right
you.
here. Somebody gave it to me.
All right, hang on. The thing is, we're like going so fast. Like I feel like I'm missing.
Do you think that's a problem that your news network lies?
Well, I don't.
Dude,
what did they say?
They lied
What
and
did they
said
say?
I was taking horse dewormer. First of all, it was prescribed to me by a doctor.
Yeah.
Along
They
with
shouldn't have said
a
it was
bunch
horse.
of other medications.
If you got a human pill, because there were people that were taking it, the veterinary medication, and you're not, obviously. You got it from a doctor, so that it shouldn't be called that. Ivermectin can be a very effective medication for parasitic disease. And as you say, it's probably, I think, what, 250 million people have taken it around the world?
More,
I get that.
way more.
So,
way more. Billions of people have taken it.
Can I just come back to the one I want to talk about? Two things on the ledger.
Before we get to that, does it bother you that the news network you work for out and out lied, just outright lied about me taking horse dewormer?
They shouldn't have said that.
Why did they do that?
I don't know.
You didn't ask? You didn't think that you're the medical guy over there.
I didn't ask. I should have asked before.
But they
coming
did it
on your
with
podcast.
such glee.
No,
Yes,
Joe.
they did. I watched.
You watched?
I watched.
You watched? No, I don't think there's
Yes,
glee.
they did.
No one takes.
Joe Rogan says he has COVID, taking livestock drug despite warnings. Yeah.
Jamie had to pull this up.
You want to play it?
Does she
This
have
is your
glee?
news network.
I'm going to watch.
Let's see.
I'm going to watch.
Rogan telling his 13 million Instagram followers that he was treated with several drugs, and he included ivermectin on the list, a drug used for livestock that the FDA and the CDC warn against using to treat COVID.
But the point is, that's a lie.
It can be used for humans. I get it. I totally.
Not just could be used for humans, is often used for humans, along with all the other drugs I took. All human drugs.
Yes.
They know it's a human drug.
It's right. But
and they lied.
The thing.
It's defamatory.
It is. Yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
It's defamatory, right?
Well, I don't know if it's defamatory.
I bet it is.
Well, I'm not a lawyer.
It's a lie.
Well, see, here's the thing. You can have nuanced discussions about this.
No,
right?
but my point is, you're working for a news organization. If they're lying about a comedian taking horse medication, what are they telling us about Russia? What are they telling us about Syria? Do you understand that that's why people get concerned?
He did say something about ivermectin that I think wasn't actually correct about CNN and lying, okay? Ivermectin is a drug that is commonly used as a horse dewormer. So it is not a lie to say that the drug is used as a horse dewormer. I think that's important, and it is not approved for COVID. Correct?
That's right. That's correct. It is not approved for COVID, and you're right. I mean, the FDA even put out a statement saying, basically reminding people, it was a strange sort of message from the FDA, but they said, you're not a horse, you're not a cow, stop taking this stuff, is essentially what they said, referring to ivermectin. Now, I think what Joe's point
that
is...
It has been approved for humans, but not necessarily for COVID, right? Yeah.
That's correct. It's been used for a parasitic disease, for something it's called river blindness, and it's been very effective for that. But, just because it works for one thing doesn't mean it works for something else. Right. And, there's still a few ongoing clinical trials around ivermectin, but for the most part, if you look at the data, there's no evidence that it really works here. When Joe got sick, he took ivermectin. He also took monoclonal antibodies, which is, an infusion of these antibodies. So he took both those things. It's very likely it was the monoclonal antibodies that made him feel better so quickly.
But I do know that it was used for humans for fucking years before they ever started using it for animals. And I also do know that there's a massive amount of medications that have veterinary applications, including penicillin.
Well, Joe, it's like me calling Child Protective Services because my neighbor was feeding her baby cat food, and by cat food I mean milk.
Yeah,
it's insane. Like
it's insane.
Dogs take Xanax and all these other things.
Well, there's a lot of shit going on.
Yep. Yep.
So apparently CNN has said some stuff accusing Joe Rogan of taking horse
dewormer, right?
Dewormer. And Joe Rogan, he wasn't happy about that.
Right.
Well, he wasn't.
I'm not going to even front. I thought ivermectin was only for horses. I ain't going to lie. That was ignorance on my part. And when I looked it up, I was like, oh, wow.
Wow.
You know, like, dang. So he wasn't wrong.
Nah.
As far as like it being for humans.
Yeah. It's like it's strange because it's a weird. It's like a weird critique, you know, and obviously CNN, like, they said what they said in a ridiculing way. Like, they were like obviously trying to like ridicule Joe Rogan when they classified ivermectin as horse dewormer
only.
Right.
And they're like there's no human
equivalent
version of ivermectin. Right.
And Joe, I think, was rightly upset about it because that's not a fair criticism.
Right.
Right. To classify it as horse dewormer. Now, had they said that Joe Rogan is using ivermectin, a treatment that hasn't been shown to be effective for COVID, that would have been fine to say.
Yeah.
You know, you can ridicule him for that because that is true. But to do it on the basis of it being like, you know, for animals is, come on.
So what do you think was the point of it all? Like, why did they do what they did as far as like try to, I guess, slander Joe?
Right.
What you think it is? Just views, comments?
Well, I think CNN, the liberal media basically is what they represent.
Yeah.
And they see Joe Rogan as a right-wing extreme guy for whatever reason.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really insane. it's really crazy because like Joe Rogan isn't right-wing at all.
At all.
He's actually a liberal, and he's actually said on the show he's never voted for a Republican in his life. Yeah. He's never done that. He's voted, and I've listened to Joe Rogan because he actually is a pretty interesting guy to listen to, and his conversations with people are really, really good and in depth. I think
he makes a lot of sense with a lot of what he says, and the one thing I like about Joe Rogan is that he does his research. He will literally be in a conversation with somebody and be like, let's pull it up.
Let's put it up right now. Let's do it.
Right now. And they'll play a video or show you whatever it is he's talking about from a credible resource.
Right.
It's not just some, BS on YouTube or some obscure channel or a website. It's always from a reputable source that he's getting his information from. Yeah. So I respect that.
Yeah. I'd definitely like to see more of that, of people conversing, having a conversation, and when we get to a bulwark, we get to a stopping point, we get to a point where we don't agree, let's look it up. Let's stop and let's find out. I think he understands that, like, other people, like, people watch his show, Yeah. So he needs to be in the know as well if they are to be.
Absolutely.
Which is why he doesn't have a problem like, let's look it up. There's nothing wrong with that.
Which is funny because I remember when what's her name? I think it's
Candace Owens.
Yeah, she was on this show. She was like, I don't trust this, that, and the third. Oh, okay, cool. Then we'll use a .gov or something like that.
That whole conversation.
And I was like,
crazy.
So what now?
And it still supported Joe, and she was like, "Is that a .com or?"
Right.
Like, and he was like, "What? Okay, like, what do you want?" Like, and he just pulled it up. .gov, .net, whatever. Like, it still says the same thing. It still supports my argument.
Well, they haven't. I'm like, oh my goodness, the backpedaling. Not to get off the subject, but it's just to show you that he will go like right in the moment to show you that you sound crazy.
Yeah.
Based off of the research, the general consensus of whatever it is, you sound crazy.
Sound like crazy.
And you should own up to it.
Yeah.
And yet you're still trying to fight it. Because that's what was happening on CNN, I think, when Don Lemon was talking to the doctor, right?
Yeah, Sanjay Gupta.
Yeah.
He went on to Joe Rogan's show, and Joe Rogan always has these long and in-depth conversations. So the part that's being clipped is a very short instance of their conversation. Most of their conversation, they were in agreement with a lot of things. It was enjoyable for both parties. This part, Joe Rogan pressed him on. Yeah. Because
he should.
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Right? It's about him. And it was very stupid for CNN to make these calls about him, about someone who has an audience as large as Joe's and who can respond. That, to me, I just will never understand. Like, why would you go after someone who has basically a bigger audience than you do? That doesn't make any sense to me. So if you say you say that he's taking ivermectin, and you call it a horse dewormer, right? And he's like, no, I got this from my doctor in a human form. This isn't horse paste or whatever you want to call it. This is a Nobel Peace Prize winning medication. And then he goes on and he calls you out on it, which there's nothing wrong with that he rightfully so. And of course we saw Sanjay Gupta kind of try to weasel out of it. He tried to, and at the end of the day, it was just like, no, there's nothing you can say.
You gotta take this.
Yeah, you gotta own up for this. Yeah. Yeah, hold this L. Yeah. It's for you.
It is for you.
Yeah.
Firmly grasp it in your hand. Firmly grasp it.
Compliments to the show.
Right. But then he went back on CNN and kind of tried to pull it back, well, maybe CNN, it's not wrong to call it a horse dewormer because it is.
I hate that.
And that's
so
what
we're doing, like semantics and all of that?
Right, basically. We're playing the nuance game at this point in time.
Yeah. And that's like so annoying because you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yet we playing this little game.
Right.
I'm trying to be upfront and honest, and you're the one trying to be like, well, maybe look, no, stop that, because I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just be real is like what we say. Just be real.
Be real. Own up to it, because everybody sees this.
Yeah.
You called it a horse dewormer in an attempt to ridicule Joe Rogan because for some reason CNN thinks Joe Rogan is a right-winger, which is absolutely crazy. If you watch his show, you will see that a lot of his beliefs fall on the left. Yeah. Now, he is beloved by right-wingers, definitely, because he comes off as like a tell it how it is kind of guy. And they definitely appreciate that, which is fine. But he's actually a liberal, and it just speaks to to the liberal and the left's ability to make enemies, even though there aren't any.
Radical leftists.
Yeah, it's just like we are so good at just turning people who are on our side into our enemies. Just the craziest thing.
I'm at a point where I'm not even sure if I'm a liberal.
I get it.
I think we was talking about that the other day. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because if radical leftists, if their ideals are what reflective of that side.
Yeah.
I'm not that.
Yeah.
Because we're on the line of the cusp of batshit crazy.
Yeah. And a lot of it is batshit crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just feelings and not research and science.
Right.
I don't have time for all of that.
And there's a lot of like blaming and victimizing on the left that makes you not want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And even if you're Joe Rogan, I bet that there's a limit to it. You know, there's only so many times that you can see the people who you are a part of call you out and censure you or castigate you or put a disparaging light on you to where you're just like, you know what? I don't want to be this anymore. If this is what this is not what I am. I would rather deal with the right wing because at least they're nice. At least they're kind people. Right? And it's just crazy how we've gone so long and liberals and people on the left are just so good at just making everybody mad, making everybody enemies. And the right is just like, come on over. Come on over.
They are very welcoming.
Yeah, they are.
I'm
they
not going to lie
take
to you.
Anybody.
Yeah.
And we keep pushing everybody away. And where are they going to go? To the just wide open arms of the right.
Jesus wants a hug.
They're going to start understanding why the right looks at the left the way that they do.
Yeah.
And the reason they call them liberal snowflakes and all that is like, look at what's going
Yes.
on. You know,
Yes.
I'm almost glad that this happened because if CNN represents radical leftists, it just goes to show you how much research they actually do. It's just all about, like I said, it's about feelings. It's not about research or science. You can just do simple research like watching the Joe Rogan Experience and find out that he has liberal ideas and not, conservative ones. Yeah. Watch it. It's crazy that, we feel as though he's a...
Yeah. And that's where it comes down. That's wild. That's what it comes... And it comes off as he is on the right because he's not afraid to criticize the left.
They just above reproach at this point.
Right. So they feel like, well, he's got to be on the right because he's always calling us out on our bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, he's just calling you out. He's still...
Because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit.
Kind of works like that.
And now you're showing why he's correct.
Right.
You're demonstrating that. And then the doubling down and the tripling down on something that everybody can see is untrue.
It makes you look more crazy.
Yeah.
You're going to keep just trying to prove this point that he's doing this when clearly you watch the interview, something else. You know what I'm like? He's saying the complete opposite, the antithesis of what they're trying to blame him for.
Right.
And that is weird to me. That we don't care about truth anymore. Yeah. We just care about being right. Yeah. And that's disingenuous and you're lying at this point. Let's be real.
And you see how they're trying to shift the viewpoint of the conversation when they come back to it. Don Lemon was on there like it's not a lie to say that ivermectin is also used in farm animals. And it's like, no, that's not a lie, but that's not the claim you were making.
Right.
We're not saying... It's not crazy that Joe Rogan is taking ivermectin because it's used in farm animals. Plenty of other medications and drugs are used in farm animals. That's not the crazy part. The crazy part is that it hasn't been shown to be effective in treating COVID-19.
Right.
But that is not the claim you made. That's not it. The claim you made is that he's taking horse medication.
Yeah.
And the fact everybody's looking at this like, yeah, this is what you said. And this is untrue. And they're doubling down and tripling down on it. This is why nobody trusts the media anymore. This is why.
It's stupid, bro.
It's crazy. And it's kind of frustrating. But my final thoughts on this subject is that CNN, y'all, just the mainstream media at large has to do better than this, because it gets to the point where you have normal Americans who watch this show and then they see this and then they wonder if they're not telling the truth about Joe Rogan, then what else are they lying about? How can I trust you to give me accurate information on the important things if I can't trust you to give me accurate information on something as minuscule as this? How can we? Our trust in the media is at an all-time low, and this is the reason why. And the fact that they are doubling down and tripling down on this only adds fuel to the fire. It's only telling us, well, now we all have to go to alternate sources of media. We all have to go to podcasts and YouTube to find out the truth, you know? And it shouldn't be like this, because there's no kind of no kind of relegation of truth amongst alternate forms of media. This is why a lot of people are getting their information from Facebook. You know, you could talk to some of your uncles and aunties, and they'll tell you the last. Oh, I heard from Facebook that this is, and it's the furthest thing from the truth, because they don't trust CNN anymore, because they don't trust Fox or MSNBC, and this is just a sparkling reason why they don't. So y'all got to do better than that. Y'all got to do better than this, because this is just, I'm at a loss for words. Like, what you got? What's your final?
My final thoughts is get out of your feelings, because if you find somebody that doesn't agree with what you're trying to put out there, do actual research, follow the science, you know, and at the very least present good information, not bad information. Don't try to slander somebody else's name because you want views, because that's what I kind of feel like it's about. You want views. And if this person that has such a large crowd like him, he can stand up to you. What's the logic in this? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? We have, you are supposed to be, the liberal media is supposed to be credible. Yet we're watching you do incredibly dumb shit.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Is there no other way to, that's as nice as I could get with that. So like I said, let's stop with the feeling stuff and just do news. Like actual news.
Yeah. True story. This is why I get a lot of my news from like print outlets or articles. You can generally trust like the written word. It's just the news pundits that are a problem. Like the people who are on your television, Fox News and like Tucker Carlson and, you know, CNN, the people who sit in front of a monitor and they read off the news to you like that. Yeah, these guys, like, they're pundits. So their version of the news doesn't have to be accurate. You know? And plenty of people have been taken to court for that reason. And every time they say, well, we're doing punditry. This is basically opinion. Mm-hmm. This doesn't have to be hard news. So whether you're talking about Tucker Carlson or Rachel Maddow, it's all punditry. It's all their version of the news, which has become so widespread and so mainstream that it's just like, oh, it's sickening. So please get your news from print outlets. That version of the news is still trustworthy. It's still good. Not from pundits. But we can only do so much anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you can always watch Final Thoughts for very credible information. Shameless plug.
That's okay. It's sad that we have to say that. It's sad that we have to news the news.
Ha!
But
that's good.
You smart.
This is something that I think a lot of people have seen, and everybody has an opinion about it. So it's just like we gotta. Yeah.
The millions and millions.
The millions
of people who've seen it. Yeah, of course. If you watch the wrestling back then, you'll know it. The Rock reference. Anywho. Thank you for listening to our ramblings once again. What do y'all think? Let us know down in the comment section. Place. Like and subscribe.
As well. You know, it don't cost nothing to do that. You know, you have an infinite number of subscriptions and likes. So feel free.
Absolutely.
But, once again, I'm your host, B. Ryder. That's my co-host,
J. Bell.
And this has been
Final Thoughts.
I don't think it's necessarily about the money so much. It's about obedience, because they're the ones who are promulgating how everyone has to act. And then you have this guy from Austin over here, this comedian, telling people there was another way and the science isn't as settled. And all of a sudden, their sense of authority is diminished, because when you have choices, that means that person who wants to be the one to go to no longer is the one who has all the answers.
Well, this is what is so funny about that. They don't understand that when they say things that are absolutely untrue, it diminishes their authority. They're not even aware of what they're doing. Like,
but they don't have an alternative.
When Don Lemon goes on with
lie?
Sanjay Gupta and says, actually, it really is a veterinary medicine. It really is deworming horses.
This was the lie. He goes, it's not a lie to say it's also used as horse medicine. He goes,
that's not what you said.
Yeah, that's not what you said. You didn't say this drug, which also is used for horses. Of what relevance is that?
It doesn't have any relevance. Exactly what you're talking about with penicillin and with like a gigantic number of medicines that also have veterinary applications. But by doing that, you just prove my point. They don't even understand what they just did. You think no one's, like, it's going to end with you? See, because it used to be that way. They would say something and no one would have recourse.
Do you know what this is?
But when you're saying something, and then the person you're saying it about has literally 10 times the audience you do, you dumb motherfucker. Do you know what you did? You just proved my point.